There's nothing like walking out of the theater after a really good musical. It doesn't even have to be great, it just has to be good because to me, musicals are just that's just movie magic. Hey there, Cinephiles. Today I'm reviewing Wicked Part 1. Yeah, it's officially a part 1. I know there were many theories of how it could potentially not be a part 1, but it's a part 1. Wicked, for those that don't know, is an adaptation of a prequel to The Wizard of Oz. We follow Glinda the Good Witch and the Wicked Witch in their friendship when they're younger. Now, this was my first time actually seeing anything ever that's Wicked. I've heard some of the songs before, but this was the actual first time I got to see the story unfold. So I gotta say, it's actually kind of surprising how many surprises that were still in store for me. And the fact that this is a part 1, it ends where the intermission would be for the stage adaptation. Now, many people, including myself, were worried about the fact that the runtime of the film is longer than the actual stage play itself. When the actual stage musical has both parts and this is just part 1, that seemed to be worrisome. However, I will say, after watching this and watching it with my friend who I brought along, shout out Caitlin, who's also a massive Wicked fan, this did a pretty good job of adding to the runtime. So much so, in fact, that for someone like me who hasn't seen the original thing, I was left wondering what exactly was not there on the stage that they added to the film, because a lot of it just really does fit in seamlessly. As for my friend, she told me it's basically just adding more lore and some explanations, which makes her appreciate the actual stage production even more. So that's a pretty good thing to note for those who are really into Wicked. And I gotta say too that Wicked the movie makes me really excited not only for part 2, but also to actually see the stage production in person now. I always wanted to, I just never had the chance, and now it's a must. I have to. But let me actually now get into the movie itself and why I think that I need to watch the stage production. First off, this is a fun little detail, but the opening Universal Pictures logo it plays on the retro version of it while also just adding in some wickedness to it. And the title cards are old-timey, where it says Wicked Part 1. They're an old text, which is just really cool. And now for the bigger things that I really liked about this movie, the wickedly talented Cynthia Erivo. My goodness, not only is her voice angelic, but her performance in this is genuinely great. She portrays Elphaba so amazingly. You see this effect of hatred that is on her while also just seeing her kindness. That's a very rough line to toe, and she does it very well. Having only seen part 1, I can clearly see how she becomes the Wicked Witch, despite me also just rooting for her very well in this film. Cynthia Erivo is going to be a future EGOT, and it's performances like these that really show that. As for Ariana Grande, she's wonderful as well. She plays an airhead perfectly. She's genuinely hilarious in this film with some of her timing and just like when she does that. But she hits her comedic beats very well, and of course her voice is amazing, but she also just plays earnest in these airhead moments too. And when the two of them are on screen together, whether it's singing or not, I love their chemistry together. And when they sing and harmonize, ooh, it is quite literally music to my ears. I also forgot to mention earlier that I got to see this movie early in Dolby, and I think this is definitely a movie worth watching on a better format than just regular. Not necessarily for the visuals, which I'll get into in a second, but definitely for the music alone. Once again, the singing of the main two characters is beautiful. And just in general, the music is stunning, which obviously most of the world knows that by now. But for someone like me who hasn't heard every single song, this was so worth hearing fully. Well, the first part fully for the first time in these beautiful Dolby speakers. I also want to shout out the practical craft making that's in this movie, from the costumes to the sets to even the dancers dancing in the background. All of it is truly wonderful. A lot of it would not be surprising to me if it was nominated to some degree come Oscar time, because it does look beautiful in those aspects, especially certain wardrobe choices. It's just some of the best looks of the entire year. And once again, major shout out to the pre-existing story. Again, this was my first time watching Wicked, and this story is miles better than I thought it would be. There's so much going on here. There's so much depth to be had, and I'm sure that will be resolved in the second half. But if you take out certain aspects of this movie, I could even see how wonderful of a prequel it would be, just the first part alone. But the fact that there's this whole other half with much more left to explore and that's set up well enough for me to get excited. Well, again, I'm excited for a movie that will be coming out in a year from now, which makes me very sad that I have to wait a year. Just the natural arcs and progressions and the layering of things and how they're going to tie into The Wizard of Oz. Again, there are many surprises here that I don't know, but I see the seeds that are being planted and I see where it could be going. And that just makes me very excited to see how it all comes together. But again, these are pre-existing things that I am praising outside of the first few things that I praised, which leaves me a little disappointed in some of the direction and CGI. Through the direction, the musical numbers aren't shot as well as I would have liked them to. Like, are moments where they're shot very well, but then there's a lot of moments where I'm like, yeah, it's a little awkward editing mixed with some cinematography that's kind of hiding the dancing and not showcasing it to its fullest ability. And this choreography is really great, and there's so many like actual dancers there, you can tell. So I just want to be able to live in that and see it a bit more than we actually did. But as for the awkward editing, it's just, there are moments where it just kind of cuts to another part of the same scene, but it's just like, oh, I feel like we're missing something here. And unfortunately, the biggest thing that I dislike about this movie is the CGI, especially when it's paired with all these practical things. It's just more noticeable and not as great. Like the flying monkeys, they don't look great, even in motion. One thing that looked better were the colors of the actual film actually popping now that we got to see the final product. And I was hoping the same thing could be done about the CGI, but it's kind of rough. And I feel bad because a lot of the designs and intention behind these visual effects should look great and should look wonderful and it should be so magical, but the end product that's out there now, or is about to be out there now at the time of this recording, it just looks unfinished. All in all, I was very surprised with Wicked as a whole product, at least the first half again, because it is deeper. There is some great media literacy test stuff here for, people to either pick up on or ignore. And I feel like in general, I'm not going to be the only one who really gets into Wicked after this. I feel like this is going to have the same impact on Wicked that when Hamilton got released on Disney Plus, what it had on Hamilton, where it just became a global sensation all over again. This movie, I think it's destined to make $1 billion, and kind of deservedly so. This feels like a movie for many generations of people to enjoy. Despite its very obvious flaws, I think many people are going to push through that due to the nature of the story and the wonderful acting and the great craft that is on screen at times. And again, that timeless music that's just spectacular. If this movie doesn't blow away the box office, especially after its great marketing campaign and its really good movie, then I just don't know how to read the public anymore. I give Wicked a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Wicked, all in all, is a really good time in the theater and potentially even great after I watch this again or after I see part 2. I could very easily see this going up in how much I enjoyed this film. If you're a fan of musicals and especially a fan of Wicked, I think you're going to love this even more. So it's definitely worth watching, especially on a big screen because of that beautiful music. And I'm sure this is going to be one of the most rewatched movies of the entire year so far. Again, I think this is going to do gangbusters at the box office, and I am excited to see the fervor coming for this movie. But alright, those are my thoughts on Wicked. Be sure to let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. As always, thank you guys for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Be sure to stay tuned for more Yeti Films content, and I'll watch you later.